right now my crafting area is a complete mess, especially after I bought a bunch of new stuff from Michaels. I even have some drawers on the side just filled with random garbage, and a set of watercolor paints apparently just chilling on my floor. So I think it's about time I reorganize this area. Let's start over here. This is my junk area. As you can see, all the garbage that I don't need, I just throw on this side of the table. So I'm gonna simply start by just throwing out everything that needs to be thrown out. If you're wondering why I have so many alcohol prep pads, it's because they're really handy for getting rid of excess paint on plastic and stuff, so I use them quite a lot and apparently just throw them aside when I'm done. I also have tubes of paint that are really old and completely just not usable because they're so dried out and chunky, plus a ton of other random stuff like a trumpet mouthpiece thing and a fidget spinner I decorated. I even found some really cool stuff like a completely dried out paintbrush. Okay, that looks a little bit better, and it's not such a cluttered mess anymore. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to begin sorting out my new crafting materials, because this video is mainly reorganizing my new stuff, not necessarily getting rid of all of my old stuff. So here's the immense pile of stuff that I bought and need to sort out. So I'm gonna quickly move everything to the side so I can focus on one thing at a time. Beginning with this drawer, which I showed you towards the beginning of this video. It's filled with a ton of random stuff like new paint and really old paint that I've literally never seen before, chalk pastels that I've barely used, and amazing mold putty. So I'm gonna shift this drawer aside and get out a paper towel, because the first thing I'm gonna do is test out paint. So I just open any paint I find, make a little dibble-dabble on the paper towel, and if it looks good and not too gross, then I'll keep it. But then there were these oil colors that were super old, and I think were probably from the prehistoric age. They were so old the cap was glued on, so I couldn't even open it, so those I needed to get rid of. Though surprisingly, one of them actually did open, and well, it looked like that. But you know what, I'll just hold on to it anyway. I also have some newer acrylic paint that I bought just recently, so I already know those are good, so I don't have to bother testing them out. And so I'll just continue squeezing out little bits of old acrylic paint in my drawer. One tube of paint had this on it, which I don't even know what that is, but we're just gonna wipe that down and pretend it was never there. Okay, so I finished all of the paints I want to keep are on the left, all the paints I desperately need to get rid of are on the right. So now I'm going through the rest of the drawer and keeping what I want and just throwing out all of the old stuff that I definitely don't want to keep. I used to make squishies out of makeup sponges and acrylic paint, and I made some weird stuff like this cake and this macaron ? But those don't look too horrible. But then there's things like this. What is that? Is that an ice cream bar, or is it a dried turd on a stick? I really can't tell. Okay, next I'm taking out one of these bins, which I bought recently from Michaels, and I'm trying to decide what to put in it. I bought these Crayola Super Tip markers, so I thought they would be perfect to put inside. And of course, as soon as I opened the package, I found some cool plastic and had to do this, and just make a complete mess out of everything. Eventually, I decided to put the markers in the bottom bin of the bin, but then I couldn't figure out if I wanted to put them in one of the trays that were on top, and I just didn't really know where to begin with organizing my stuff. So then I got out my paint, because that is something I use very frequently and want easily accessible, so I thought, hey, if I put the paints in a place, then maybe I could figure out where everything else goes, so eventually I decided to put them in the lower bin. Then I soon realized a dilemma, and it was that I could not put the top tray on top once the paint was in the bottom bin, because the bottom bin actually wasn't that deep, which was pretty frustrating. But then finally, after moving things in every single possible position, I found out a good way to organize my stuff. So here is my completed, reorganized crafting station, I guess you could say. Alright, now here's a quick little tour. Starting over here on the right, we have this tray of markers. Yes, I decided to keep the markers in this top bin because I found a better place for the paint. But yeah, I just keep the markers in here, and I left most of the trays open and empty just so that in case I need storage later on in the future, I have it. Now to the left of that tray, we have this jar of paintbrushes. Now this is a marmalade jar, which was very difficult to come by. I don't know what happened. I originally had the paintbrushes in different places, and then realized I needed a jar, and then I decided I didn't have a jar, but then after I'd organized everything I found a jar because I'm a hoarder, so then I had to redo everything again. But luckily I got a jar, so I put all my paintbrushes in there, and yeah, I don't know why I'm demonstrating how to use a paintbrush here, but okay. Then to the left of that, we have this wooden box, which is just empty. It has some drawers that I'll probably decorate sometime soon, but for now, it's just a piece of decoration. Then to the left of that, we have this other wooden box that is totally plain, but in here, I keep my seashells. Now, I didn't know where to put my seashells, but I didn't want them to be sort of in a bag because I feel like they could break easily. So I keep them in this wooden box, unpainted, but I'll probably paint them sometime soon as well. Then all the way on the left, we have this other bin, which has some random stuff, such as watercolor that you saw at the start of this video just chilling on my floor, the extra acrylic paint that I sorted out, and plus some of the oil paint actually survived. I could open some of them and they worked fine, but I don't know what I'll do with them. And I also have these contact lens cases, I guess, or like packets, which I feel like could be used for like sort of a single palette, like you just put a drop of paint in if you don't want to get out an entire palette. I don't know, I just keep everything. Plus I have Velcro because why not? So yeah, that is everything that is in this bin. Then over to the left of the entire table, we have some other bins, which are actually the bottom parts of the storage bins. So yeah, I decided to separate them because I thought it was inconvenient how shallow the lower part was, so I just put all my paint in the lower part and then just put the lid on top of that and kept the trays out. Now I like having my paints here because they're super easily accessible and I can see all the colors pretty clearly. Just under that bin, we have an identical box, except this one contains my white creamy things. In here, if we just open the box up, I have sort of my adhesives and varnishes. So I have some gloss Mod Podge, and then I have matte Mod Podge, just a little bit smaller and it's just not as sticky. Gesso, which is used as a first coat, I guess. Some translucent liquid Sculpey, which I haven't used in like 14,000 years. And finally, some Sculpey glaze, which has barely been used, as you can tell by the fact that it has completely settled to one side. Finally, the last thing I want to show you is this drawer, which originally had the paint I sorted out, but instead I keep some more miscellaneous things, such as these blocks, which I bought kind of randomly and impulsively, but I might make something out of those. Some paint palettes, which are actually brand new. Also some backup like paint mixer thingies and some other sponges for the Mod Podge. Some extra contact lens packets, and by extra I mean way too many that I don't need at all. I also have my chalk pastels, my amazing mold putty, and these random cardboard boxes that I bought that I will decorate soon, but right now they're pretty ugly, so I keep them in this drawer. If you're wondering what's in these yellow and black bins, I just keep some spare cubing parts in there. They're not really crafting related. So yeah, that is everything I have done to reorganize my new crafting supplies. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!